He is going to be representing Team Starcom. We have Papa Kaz.
And I would ask you to quickly check your mic boost settings, just in case. As spawning in the top right-hand corner of 2,000 Atmospheres LE, we have the Polish Protoss player. He is red, representing Team Liquid. It is MaNa.
Everybody get them bananas out, chat.
Oh. Hello there, Yaku.
Indeed.
Oh, God. All right, so yeah, I'm glad to have you here, especially because our first series does involve a Terran.
Yeah. I do remember Kaz this season. I think it was his game against Raynor, his match against Raynor, which ended predictably. About how everybody expected. What was a little surprising were the builds that Kaz was using. He did not at all like his chances in the longer macro game against Raynor, understandably. So he tried to end the games early. This time, though, Kaz, he's definitely taking his time a little bit more, being a little bit more standard.
Yeah. I mean, this is a different matchup, right? And it's one of the things that we have to bring up is that at the moment he is at the bottom of his group. He hasn't won a single series so far. So because of that, because we're pretty deep into the tournament now, maybe he's starting to rethink his approach to some of these matchups and going for something maybe a little bit more standard, a little bit more safe, or more aggressive in the mid game.
Yeah, that's usually how a lot of Terran builds end up going when it comes to TVP. You want to be building up for that first initial push. Hopefully get some momentum behind that to sustain for round 2 or even round 3 if need be. But there are a bunch of other ways of playing this out. I know we got to see it very recently from Clem, and holy moly, his mass harass multi-prong style. Starving the Protoss opponent to submission.
Like the massive Widowmines as well that we got to see, like in a TVP. It's like, what? It was crazy. So yeah, we'll see how these other European Terrans do. So far, Reaper gets in, and 2 probes already. And oh my god.
Does he see the Stargate though? I didn't quite catch that.
Oh, he did, and he gets out.
Everything, mate. How is this man at the bottom of his group?
Right. At the same time, though, an Adept does get into the main base. Ooh, a lot of boys are being pulled.
Yeah, a little inefficiently here. A lot of them just can barely get close enough to that Adept. He is pulling them back to mining, but that was already a pretty big dip in his income.
Yeah, exactly. Nice micro, keeping the SCVs alive for as long as he did, but a lot less mining time, and the Adept comes back in. Finally, it's going to be dealt with, but yeah, a lot of economic damage was done. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, MaNa does get revenge for those 2 probes that went down earlier on. And manages to make it out with his Adept.
Ooh, nice.
Gets a full scout out as well with his initial Adept 2.
That's crazy, mate. That's crazy. Thankfully, Kaz finally deals with all this. What's important is that he did scout the Stargate, right? So hopefully he responds. He does have Marines. Oh, and he does have a Cyclone here in his main base. I was a little bit concerned that maybe he wouldn't have anything in the main, but he does.
Yeah, he knows he's not going to be able to get missile charts up anytime soon. He is definitely delaying that engineering bay. He is getting a lot of Cyclones, though, and quite a lot of Vikings. I feel like this may be a little bit too much of an overreaction.
Yeah, you could definitely argue that. I mean, God, a couple more units get taken out. The Oracle survives. But what's important is that MaNa is, oh my god, we have a second Oracle coming out, and he's transitioning into Phoenixes. So these Cyclones and Vikings, like, even though maybe for one Oracle they're an overreaction, but because it's more of a commitment, that they are going to come into play.
Yeah, hopefully they will anyway. MaNa is definitely setting himself up for some options as a Cyclone looks to hunt, and Oracle won't quite get it, but it's a lot of hull damage. MaNa will have to plan out how he wants to harass as he gets in. Viking pops out, and it is targeting down an Oracle, even drags another one into range of the Viking. Sure, Kaz loses a single Cyclone, but he does not have to worry about the harass anytime soon.
Exactly. One of those oracles did nothing, by the way. The first one was able to get some damage at least. That was very nicely done there by Kaz, shutting down those oracles, shutting down the aggression, also shutting down the scouting information, right? Those oracles, they're meant to get tags off. They're meant to get eyes on the army.
And now Kaz is looking to reciprocate. He does get eyes on this third base. He knows exactly where he wants to push as he starts to build up. He gets his stim, his combat shield at +1. Important to note though, MaNa already transitioning out of this. So, as you mentioned earlier, he is still getting those Phoenixes for any crowd control he needs later on. Also getting a Robo Bay behind all of that.
Oh yeah, there's
Should
a lot
be
of...
seeing some Colossus out. Very good defensive unit.
Definitely. There's a lot of tech here, right? The Robotics Bay alongside the Twilight Council, alongside the third base as well. So MaNa, honestly, being a little bit greedy with the tech and with the expansions, only working off of 2 gateways. So if an earlier push did come, he'd be a little bit vulnerable. But at the moment, he's going to get away with this. Kaz still has a ways to wait for his upgrades to finish up.
Yeah, that additional Cyclone definitely dipped into the gas a little bit, so MaNa is probably feeling pretty safe. Phoenixes dip in right on top of a drop. Thankfully, Kaz is able to unload. But now he's lost the element of surprise. He's completely lost the momentum he wanted to have with this drop. He's just going straight for the push.
Yeah, and this gets scouted by the Observer. MaNa does see the move out at the same time. The Phoenixes dive in, looking to try and form a distraction, but Kaz is undeterred. He keeps going. He just sends it across the map.
And this is before a Colossus can get out. One of them will be finishing up here, but it doesn't have thermal lance. There are a decent amount of Marauders here. It's all going to be about how Kaz positions this.
Exactly, and there's no lot of gateway units either. We were talking about it. There weren't a lot of gateways completed here. Meanwhile, ooh, Cyclone gets picked off. Same with the Widowmine before it gets a shut off.
Yeah, one single Widowmine there. Not going to be too much of a threat. As we see right there. Sniped immediately by lone Adept. And with that shield battery, you know, Kaz, he's just not feeling it. He does not want to take his chances against a Colossus Immortal and a shield battery with overcharge.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all, right? Especially with those force fields. Meanwhile, Kaz was trying to go for a drop at the same time, and he was caught out by those Phoenixes. Again, nicely done by MaNa, not kind of like all army hotkeying and bringing everything to the third to defend. He had his Phoenixes out there, and he was able to catch another drop. And now Kaz gets forced back. And I was bringing up the greed from MaNa earlier, and again, he has gotten away with all of it. Now his gateways are finishing up. Now his forges are finishing up.
As he even starts that 4th base, the tables are very much starting to turn here as Kaz, he's still struggling to get a 3rd.
Exactly. Well, we got to see it. We didn't mention it, but the 3rd base was even delayed because the Phoenixes came in and took out the SCV as well. The army's moving up, gets scattered by the Phoenixes at the same time. Oh, okay, I thought there was going to be a bit of a run by, but MaNa is turning around. Luna trying to defend his 4th.
Yeah, ideally he'd be able to catch the Terran army off guard as well. Kaz still has a larger army and there's not really much of a buffer. If MaNa gets caught in the middle of the map, that's going to be the end of those Colossus and the end of anything, really. Kaz will have so much momentum behind him, but that is a big if. MaNa is being as safe as can be with his high-tech units.
Yeah, and Kaz, he's not feeling it. He comes back home, he lands his 3rd base. Because it's an Adept, he's forced to bring back some of his army, and that means that this 4th will finish. More importantly, the cannons, the shield batteries are going to be on the way as well, and MaNa will have a much better defensive position at the 4th base.
As he just continues to tech up, he's saturated his bases. He's going to be transferring a ton of workers over to that 4th. MaNa can do whatever at this point.
Oh my god.
The aggression from Kaz just has not worked out at all.
He just hasn't been able to be aggressive. He wants to be. Meanwhile, here's half the army of Kaz. It gets caught out in the middle of the map. Everything is going to get picked off here. The other half was just completely out of position. And oh my god, that was a beautiful trade from MaNa. Bit of a blunder for Kaz.
Yeah, only a couple of gateway units going down here as the Colossus pick up everything remaining in the ground and the Phoenixes take out the medevacs to the sky. Kaz, he knows where the main army of MaNa is, but now, so does MaNa.
Yeah, MaNa, he knows. He's moving on over. Force a recall. He will be here in time to defend, and Kaz can't do anything. Sure, he forced the recall, but I mean, MaNa was on the way here anyway. Like, oh god.
Kaz, a little bit of a headless chicken right now. He knows that he can't really out macro his opponent from this position. He needs to get damage done, but he is just not finding it.
Exactly.
He's rotating around.
He is,
looking
and
for those openings.
he gets scouted by the Observer as well. The Observer did see the army movements. MaNa has to be careful not to go in prematurely. He has to wait for his Colossus. They do meet up. But again, just like this, Kaz, he's forced back, even keeps the Observer alive.
I'm kind of liking this light, using Archons as a buffer instead of Chargelets. I mean, you might as well, when you know you're up against Widow Mines. Chargelets don't really trade too well against those. Very good force fields, keeping the entire army on the low ground pretty much, as MaNa just rains hell from above. GG is called. MaNa takes game number 1.
GG. Well played, MaNa. What a game 1. What I will say is that Kaz, there were moments. There was definitely a timing there that he could have abused, but MaNa was just so good at just keeping Kaz's attention at home. He
was so active with those Phoenixes.
Yeah.
Always had them out on the map at some point. Always at positions where it's typical a Terran player would want to move out or go for a bit of a drop. Every single time it felt like MaNa was just one step ahead of him. Really good map vision from a Polish Protoss player. Definitely. That's probably the key thing there. Because of that map vision, he knew where he needed to be, where his army needed to be positioned, and Kaz just couldn't catch a break there. Oh god. What a game. It was a very, very solid, very dominant showing there by MaNa. Again, Kaz, like, maybe missing a bit of a killer instinct there, maybe. It was just so unfortunate that his drops kept getting caught out by those Phoenixes. Like, yeah. That's kind of the strength of Terran Bio, isn't it? Going for these multi-prong harassments as you distract the main army. But MaNa, I mean, he's been able to find an answer to that, apparently. Yeah, now that I think back on it, he didn't get a single drop-off, right? Like... None at all. Well... It doesn't count if he was forced to unload in the middle of the map. That's technically a drop. That's some Terran copium right there, man. Oh, God. It was a drop, it just didn't do any damage. Didn't get close to doing any damage. He just dropped and died, mate. It's like... Oh, God. The parachute didn't get out. Jesus Christ. All right. Here we go. Game number 2. As a reminder, this is the best of 3. So this could be the final game of the series, or we could see our Terran player bring it back. Yeah, and there's definitely a lot that Terran can do on this map in particular. This map, of course, being Blackburn, LE, where in the bottom left-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner, we have a red Protoss player coming down all the way from the land of Poland. He's going to be representing Team Liquid. Get your bananas ready in the chat. We have MaNa. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Blackburn LE, we have the Ukrainian Terran player representing Team Starcom. It is Kaz. We talk a lot about Terran players and what they can do on a map like Blackburn. Obviously, parade pushes are very popular. So are starport proxies. Definitely keeping my eye on Cass this time. Yeah, because we're on Blackburn, I'm a little bit surprised that this map wasn't vetoed. But there is some good chances here for Kaz to bring things back, whether it's a proxy starport, whether it's just a more aggressive style to go out across the map. Like, the rush distance is so much smaller, the likelihood of him getting across the map with a drop or with his push is a little bit higher, but at the same time, MaNa knows that, so I don't think he's going to be anywhere near as greedy. I hope not. Yeah, I have a feeling he might want to double down on the Phoenix production this game, at least to keep him safe from drops. And of course, if there's an early tank push coming out from Cass, the crowd control potential on those Phoenixes is going to be absolutely key. Yeah, definitely. Oh boy. Meanwhile, MaNa is being a little bit annoying here. Meanwhile, I'm going to trust you. Price for it. Okay. Probe gets away. For now, but it could be hunted down. I just want to give a bit of a shout out here. A bit of a shout out also for Funada, this guy, if he's wrong. Naughty Elves in the chat is saying that if MaNa wins 2-0, then Hearthstone is going to be affected by this series and he will not be able to make it out of the group. I think the math checks out. Yeah, I haven't checked the math, but I'm going to take your word for it, Naughty Elves.
If
I
you're
checked
not...
the math, but I wouldn't trust me on the math.
Oh god. Hopefully it's correct. Meanwhile,
He's hunting for the probe.
He's
He's not quite going to be able to get it. The Adept will keep it alive. The Reaper at least will be able to make it out of there. Doesn't really see any key tech, but that's always an option for him to jump back in. Not with the Adept in place, though.
Yeah, the Adept is waiting for him, and the Reaper does
no,
not.
I believe it's...
Oh, just barely escapes. But again, he didn't get into the main. He doesn't know what the opening is. He doesn't know if it's a Stargate like last game or if it's a Twilight Council.
Yeah, I have a feeling Kaz isn't going to be going for a double Cyclone this time, as he immediately gets a Widowmine out.
Yeah, looking to go for a little bit of a drop here, Kaz is. I don't blame him. Meanwhile, we do have an Oracle, and this is going to be a little bit scary, right? As you said, he's not going to have the Cyclone. He's not going to have the Viking like he did last time to deal with the Oracles.
Yeah, we'll see how well he's able to position that Widowmine. The Adept makes it in. Aye. Already going to be able to delay that starport. The mine was forced to burrow, and it does deal with the Adept. That means it can't deal with the Oracle.
Exactly, the Oracle is on its way. This mine will not, or it may reset just in time as the Oracle gets there. It's hard to say. We'll see. It's going to be close. Oh, God. Oh, a second one comes out. It's in a pretty good position.
Very good position as well. Oh, will MaNa avoid it? Just too slow. And he will lose that Oracle, not before getting a Revelation down. So he will be able to confirm that it is a Widowmine drop coming out from Kaz, but he definitely wanted that to do a lot more damage.
Yeah, man, beautifully done there by Kaz. Beautiful positioning with his Widowmines to make sure that they're there for that Oracle. The first Oracle goes down, but there is a second one on the way. Looking at this opening, MaNa, this is pretty reminiscent to game number 1.
Very much is. Oh, Kaz is able to scout the Oracle. And MaNa's keeping his eye on that drop. Throws out a Revelation just so he can keep track of the medevac. Should be saving another one for when the mines land.
I was about to say, did Kaz scout the Oracle or did the Oracle scout the drop? Is my question.
Vice versa, you know. Come on, both ways. Insert Spider-Man meme.
There you go. Kaz, he is forced back with the drops, so the Widowmines do not get into a mineral line. But they are still a threat here in the middle of the map. Oh god.
Oh, none of the dead. Oof. Well, I'm still alive at least, but yeah, a little bit awkwardly placed. And once again, Kaz is denied a drop. Not just a drop, but the scouting information. This is why the Widowmine drop for Terran is so key in the early game. Even if you don't get any damage done, you want to know what your opponent's doing.
It's one of those things where Kaz just hasn't gone into the main base at all this game. He just hasn't gone in, and he just hasn't dealt any economic damage either. So once again, this is a beautiful opening here from MaNa. We'll see if he can keep it up, as just like last game, third base alongside the Robotics Bay and the Twilight Council.
Yeah, thankfully he does have a couple more gateways this time, or he's building them at least. Void Ray's also out just in case to cover that main base, but shouldn't be seeing too much action.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing to point out, because unlike last time, he didn't invest into those Phoenixes. Instead of wasting his resources there, he just went for a single Void Ray. That is all he is relying on. And with that extra resources, he is, investing in more gateways and getting a little bit of a more solid ground army.
Yeah, look how much quicker this game he's getting charged and the Colossus out.
Yeah.
And he's well aware of the rushes of the Blackburn. He wants to make sure he can get those defensive units out as quickly as possible to deal with any Terran aggression like Kaz is doing, or looking to do anyway.
Exactly. Very nice adaptation there by MaNa. Meanwhile, Kaz, he's moving out across the map. The Observer did scout the move out, so MaNa should be relatively aware. He doesn't know if the push is being committed to or not, as Kaz is even going for a little bit of a drop at the same time.
I'm liking this. The Void Ray is not in position anymore. A Phoenix will be here, but it may be a little bit too late. It's all going to be about MaNa's reactions. The Colossus, super isolated, super exposed. Barely survives. That's the rest of the bio. Focuses on the third nexus.
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe the Colossus is alive. It shouldn't be. Meanwhile, the drop is here at the third base. It is going to be forced away. Charge is not done yet. At the same time, another drop here into the natural. And the Widowmines, they got the shots off. Could they get more? It doesn't look like they will.
Yeah, unfortunately, they do not have Cloak. Kaz misses chance of taking out the Colossus, but he gets 12 probes behind all of that. He needed to slow down this economy. It's tough to say which would have been the better target, though.
I mean, 10 probes went down to the Widow Mines, so that drop, focusing on the third base, didn't really get too much done, to be honest. Like, yo, this Colossus, like, mate, it was so exposed. It was like, MaNa wasn't paying attention to it, but it looks like maybe Kaz wasn't either. Like, God, it would have been huge if this Colossus went down.
Really would have been the first domino here. Kaz would have had so much momentum. He only would have had to deal with chargelets. There's no other form of splash damage here for MaNa. A bit of an unfortunate turn of events here for our blue Terran player.
Yeah, I really wanted Kaz to get a small win here in the beginning. Like, he just hasn't had the best of luck, mate. I mean, now that MaNa is pushing out across the map, he's got 2 Colossus, he's got his extended thermal lance, charge is finally done. That's why MaNa had such a hard time cleaning up that drop, because charge was a little bit late. It wasn't done quite yet at the time, and he's just getting his third up and running. To be fair, so is Kaz, right? You know, he's got his own, he's going for a bit of a drop. Oh, but it could get scattered. Right,
these adepts might be able to get some free SCVs too.
Yeah, exactly.
Not going too well here for Kaz.
Yeah, I'm not too sure where these. I don't know. I don't know.
It's a bit of a miss for Heli.
Just a little bit. The SCVs, they do get picked off. I guess they scout that there are a couple of units here, but there we go. The feast is due route over. MaNa did see the drop with his adepts.
There. Couple of units will be lost at the very least. The medevac and the rest of the army, as it lands, will get pinned. Very good use of SimCity though. MaNa does not want to push into that choke point, but this army is effectively dead supply as long as MaNa keeps his eyes on them.
But I love this.
Kaz is going for a massive drop though into the main.
He is, and the Colossus are exposed. There's no gateway units. It's like 3 zealots here, but he doesn't commit to the drop. Mate.
I guess maybe he saw the zealots. And
zealots are pretty terrifying.
They are. Alright, well, so he will land and deal with the pylon. That's something.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. Look, I don't know what it is. Like, he just doesn't want to kill this Colossus. It's maybe it's a respect thing. He's like, you know what? You stride that first torch, like, you deserve to live, mate.
Man.
But
like one bear to Roosevelt, didn't you?
Exactly. And like, that was such a good moment as well for Kaz, right? He distracted the main army and all the gateway units. He was going for some multi-prong attacks. The Phoenixes were out of position, but yeah, he didn't pull the trigger. Maybe he just wasn't feeling confident with what he had. It was kind of a risky play because there were like a handful of zealots there with the Colossus and an Immortal. It's understandable, but
yeah, it's one of those things that where doing so did kind of put him ahead here. He was able to recover economically. He's getting on top of his bases. He's building up a pretty massive army, all things considered, but if he just dropped then and there, he may have been able to take the game.
Yeah, definitely. That would have been huge pick off. Speaking of, this drop does get caught out by these Phoenixes. Immediately goes down at the same time. The main army is trying to hit this gold base, but oh my god, the Colossus are ready and waiting.
Oh, that they are. Force field, forcing a bit of a choke point. Very much limiting the DPS as the Colossus use their thermal lance to chip away at the bio. Kaz, once again, not quite feeling it, especially with this mass warp and a charge that's in the main.
Yeah. This was a huge move. There were Widow Mines to defend, but they weren't in position to deter this warp. Is a massive warp into the main base. Zealots get into the mineral line on top of the production, forces the entire army back home.
Very much less than ideal. Kaz was definitely setting up a bit of a position, looking to try to surround the army of Kaz or get a bit of an attack on 2 angles. Now it's essentially moot. MaNa is back to reinforcing his own army, getting his defensive structures. Kaz is getting very close to maxing out though.
True.
He's got a ton of ghosts on his hands.
Yeah. It's gonna be
all about, it's gonna be enough.
Yeah, it's gonna be all about those EMPs. He does not have a lot of Vikings. To be fair, there are only 3 Colossus, but disruptors are coming out. You know, as great as EMPs are, as great as this army is, like, you gotta be on point with your splits against those Purification Novas.
That you do.
Got.
And on your scans, on top of these stasis wards, trying to get the isolated disruptor, but it is a bit of a bait. MaNa being so patient, so patient, weathering the EMPs. He wants to make sure that Kaz is in a very inopportune position before he throws down those Purification Novas.
Yeah, at the same time, there's a bit of a Zealot run by. Unfortunately, there's not a lot at home to defend. A couple of Vikings, I guess. Unfortunately, these Zealots... Okay, there we go. There we go. Now they are on a move. And again, they just force Kaz back home.
Oh, no.
This is the problem when you're so good at macroing and you have 200 supply, like you don't have reinforcements to defend.
Yeah. I guess that's when you start to take your chances a little bit on the other side of the map, right?
Yeah.
You wanna trade out a bit of army so you do have those reinforcements.
Instead, Kaz was a little bit, again, he wants to be careful with his engagement. He did back off. As a result, he lost all his Widow Mines. They were left alone back across the map. Kaz, he's returning though, this time with more Vikings.
Yeah, something to deal with the Colossus, but not so much of anything else on the ground. At the very least, he deals with the Oracles, which was the main source of MaNa's detection for a while. But there's nothing left to detect, really.
Ooh, exactly. Meanwhile, disruptor shots are going off. Oh my god!
Oh! Kaz pulling away at the last second each time, very much limiting the damage he takes. Oh, I'm reaching it too soon! That was a pretty juicy connection. MaNa just needs a few more of those, but his disruptors are getting very isolated.
But the disruptors, they just keep coming out. There were so many of them, and Kaz, he just doesn't get the fight he wanted. At the same time, another Zealot run by. It does get cleaned up, but it does mean that the reinforcements were busy at home. And this army of Kaz has just been getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, the gap is definitely closed. There was a moment where Kaz was basically maxed out, or very close to maxing out, and MaNa was down about 30 or 20 supply, but that time is long past. They are on about even supplies. The gold base gets taken out. And that's definitely a pretty big win here for Kaz.
Yeah, it definitely is. Can he escape with his army? So far, there wasn't a follow-up link. There was not enough anti-air, and Kaz gets away with it at the same time. Another Zealot run by, but this one also gets dealt with. So, honestly, a pretty nice pick off there for Kaz.
Yeah, and I feel like MaNa, as much as these run-bys are distracting the army, it's starting to get a little bit inefficient with how he trades. Kaz is maxed out once again, and MaNa, he's struggling for both minerals and gas without that gold base. I guess not so much in minerals, but...
Oof. I mean, MaNa, he does get another base up and running, and he's expanding towards the south. He's not retaking that gold base, so it's not under threat here as Kaz repositions. Oh, I love this switch into Liberators, by the way.
Yeah, very much going to be able to zone out the army and all of these disruptors. We talked a lot about how the Purification Novas are key right now for MaNa. With those liberation zones, they cannot get close enough, but here come the DTs!
Oh my
Not
God.
enough detection or reinforcement!
Mate, we're going for the base trade. MaNa, he's pushing out across the map. He does not have enough anti-air to deal with these Liberators. He noticed it before, and he actually recalls!
He does. It's not at this base, though. He will be able to defend at least one of the bases, and if he's able to wipe out the army, I mean, he's already dealing a lot of damage to the production, isn't he?
True. Exactly. Meanwhile, he will lose an entire base. All the Vikings got picked off, though. We still have a lot of disruptors, but is there a good enough answer to these Liberators? I mean, we saw a massive warping of Stalkers. I feel like MaNa, he may have enough.
Yeah, he does not want to lose those Stalkers, his most reliable form of anti-air. I'm really liking Kaz's chances from here on. Has a very reliable army on his hands. A lot of what MaNa has to do right now is rely on his Purification Novas, it feels.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, the DTs have been cleaned up. Sure, they did deal a lot of damage, but like a lot of the production is still standing, And Kaz, his bases, his important bases were left untouched. So maybe he can pull this off. Again, the zone's doing such a good job here.
Yeah, this Stalker's definitely a little bit distracted there, not taking out the C-Shop Liberators. So many disruptors, though. Purification Novas, he just needs a couple more of them to land. But Kaz is splitting his heart out.
Yeah, exactly. He is. The base will go down. MaNa down to essentially one mining base here, and it's almost out of resources. And we see a massive Doom drop into the main base. And this time, Kaz is going to commit.
Ramp. That he shall. Production is in a lot of threat here. The army has to be so careful how it wants to move up this ramp. The Stalkers do blink in. We'll be able to deal with the Liberators. Hot pickup coming out from Kaz. Saves the bio from the Purification Novas.
That they do, but MaNa does push away the army again. This is still terrifying just because of the disruptors. Like, this is still terrifying. Like, MaNa, can, even though he's down in supply, he can still take head-on engagements. But Kaz, he's not fighting head-on. He just keeps going for the drops.
Yeah, he's going around ahead. He's fighting head-off.
Awful, man.
MaNa desperately trying to expand right now. He needs an income. If he's able to push away this drop then and keep those two bases alive, things will definitely swing a little bit more in MaNa's favor. But Kaz, his economy has been untouched for so long. He's mining about 5 times the minerals of MaNa.
Exactly. Like, again, all these fresh bases, all these mules. Oh my god, the mule hammer here at the top right. Look at that income advantage. It's absolutely disgusting here, Kaz. He has maxed out once again. He's ready to go. He's ready to end the game. He's ready to go all the way to the ace match.
And I do not see MaNa stopping him unless he can get the army in the middle of the map. Kaz splits are as good as ever, though. Nothing to really deal with the Liberators as the Stalkers get picked off. Pretty good concave that Kaz is starting to form.
Yeah, exactly. And even though there was some decent disruptor shots, mate, there's still no answer to the Vikings. They're doing such a good job at zoning out the army. Oh my god, maybe I speak this in.
Yeah, Kaz getting a little bit of himself here. Down to just 1 Liberator, and sure, it can zone out small armies, but not the main army of MaNa. That's it. Losing this gold base, it will just about bankrupt him. I mean,
pretty much.
His freshest base is already starting to get mined out. It's not even fully saturated just yet. The Viscera was not quite landing. Another fantastic split coming out from Kaz.
Exactly. Look at him go there. The disruptors are not finding the connections that they need. I believe that's the last disruptor shot there, and now the Marauders push on forward, take out another Nexus, and again, he is just starving MaNa out. He's trying to expand here towards the south, but he just keeps losing bases.
That was the freshest base, wasn't it? I mean, that southern base, I guess, technically will be the freshest base if it lands. Finally, MaNa is starting to connect with his Purification Novas, doing a decent enough job that he will be able to clean out this army. Kaz actually unable to remax his army as quickly as possible, but he only needs a couple of moments, doesn't he?
This is what I was talking about, right? Like, disruptors. MaNa had so many of them, he just keeps getting good enough connections, and that's why he's just barely holding on. And now, like, there was a moment where Kaz, he was ahead like 60 supply. Now, only by 20. Like, MaNa could still take another big fight. We'll see.
He really could. Doesn't have much of a buffer for those disruptors. Get a Purification Nova, a very juicy Purification Nova. Is this how MaNa turns the game around?
Mate, MaNa takes the lead for the first time in the past 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Kaz, he's not stopping. He keeps rallying across the map. Mate, you can't. That's the problem, right? One good Purification Nova, one good shot is all that MaNa needs.
Really is just like that. He's retaken this southern base. He's mining again.
Yeah.
Both players very much starve for gas, but that's going to be solved pretty quickly.
Exactly. Here we go.
MaNa, at least.
Kaz is here once again. Meanwhile, we do still only have 2 disruptors. What's important is that disruptor count has been getting lower and lower. There was a time where there were like 8 disruptors. Now there's only 2 remaining.
Yeah, MaNa could definitely afford to throw a couple of warning Purification Novas earlier. Now, not so much. I do like the inclusion of defensive DTs. But Kaz is starting to build more forward missile turrets.
Oh yeah, I love this, right? He's like covering his base. There's missile turrets all over the place. These DTs are not going to do anything. Meanwhile, we see a massive doom drop into the main base, forces a recall.
And just like that, Kaz should be able to make a lot of ground. A bunch of gateways went down. And Kaz makes it out of there with a lot of his army still alive.
That he did. He did lose two medevacs, though. Only one of them was full of units, and not the worst trade there. But MaNa, what's important, as you said before, this base, it's up and running. Now he has his gases. He's expanded to the north. This is also up and running. Like, he's getting his economy back into this.
He just needs to make sure he doesn't take too many unfavorable trades before he can remax good blink away from the liberation zones. Only 1 liberator right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he hasn't been able to remake them. Meanwhile, here we go.
MaNa committing to this fight, surprisingly, immediately loses a disruptor, and the other will go down. Kaz has just about done it as the Colossus fall to the Vikings and everything else falls to the Marauders.
Yeah, exactly. With the fall of the Disruptors, it was also the fall of the Protoss. GG Kaz ties up the series.
Fantastic. Hearthstone can rest a little easier now.
Oh my god. that was like deserving to be an ace match, mate. That was so intense, so back and forth. Kaz had that for such a long time, and then Disruptors. Oh my
Great
god.
equalizer for a reason. Or they call it the great equalizer for a reason.
Exactly. They are the great equalizer, and oh god, one intense game, mate.
Absolutely. Definitely a couple of questionable decisions by Kaz at the start of that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Once you realize how dire his situation was, it's like he achieved a form of enlightenment in his emergency. He was like, I know exactly what I need to do. His splits were impeccable from then on. His macro, his economy was untouched for the rest of the game. He was so active with his drops. Even if a couple of them were being threatened, he sent out enough of them that he made sure he got damage each and every time.
Oh god, that was crazy. That was crazy. I think probably the biggest thing for Kaz, and I wasn't paying attention to the tech. I don't know if maybe the robotic spade was sniped or something with a doom drop, but Disruptor, yeah, because Disruptor production stopped. It straight up stopped for quite some time there, and MaNa had to keep that going, and I believe he had the resources for it because he was mining gas again, but yeah, they weren't coming out. So I do apologize if I missed that, if I missed that a tech structure was sniped.
Yeah, well, a lot of things happened that game regardless, and now we are going to conclude our best of 3 series here. We're in the bottom left-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. We have a blue Terran player coming out for the land of Ukraine. He needs to win this to keep his dreams alive. Otherwise, he has to come back for the next season of DreamHack. Representing Team Starcom, he is Papa Kaz.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Oxide LE, we have the Polish Protoss player. He is red, representing Team Liquid. It is MaNa.
Definitely looked very dominant at times in this matchup, but now eating a little bit of humble pie after the end of that last game.
Yeah, that was so intense, man. Like, it all popped off, if you recall, when there was suddenly DTs in the base of Kaz, and then MaNa, he was like deliberating, should I go for the base trade, should I go back home? In the end, he decided to recall, and what's important about that decision is that those DTs, they were killing SCVs in the main and the natural, but I think that's all they got, if you recall. Like, they never really hurt the production of Kaz.
Yeah, killing those SCVs was... The SCVs at that point were not a particularly high priority target, right? Kaz already had a bunch of orbital commands up and running. He could mule hammer whenever he needed to. He had much fresher bases out, and I mean, he didn't even need scans for detection. He was getting forward turrets. Number one priority for MaNa should have been to cripple the production, but yeah, unfortunately, that didn't quite happen. I mean, a lot of things were going on, so it's hard to split your attention and try to target down the buildings when you're also defending against drops.
Yeah, there were things happening all over the place, mate. It was a beautiful game. It was a beautiful game, and MaNa.
Gotta make this game even more beautiful. All right, let's take a look at the production tab right now. Cybercore has finished up. No Twilight Council yet.
It's
then.
It's got to be a Stargate, right?
I mean, it's gotta. Like, it can't be a Dark Shrine.
Yeah. There we go. It'd be great. He'd be great. He would have lost his mind if suddenly we see like a robo. It's like, what?
Yeah. Have those Immortals take a very long way around into the base unless he wanted to wait for a Warp Prism. And right now for Kaz, I don't think this looks too suspicious as he scouts MaNa. Maybe the main base is missing a pylon, but the natural base has a Nexus already done.
Yeah, I mean, this is suspicious because, I mean, both gases have been taken. We would have expected to see, like, some kind of tech structure or that got used for something. So Kaz, he should be aware that something is amiss, but what exactly, it's hard to say because you, like, kind of touched on it earlier. For all he knows, it could be a pylon in the corner of the map, and it could be a Twilight Council with the Dark Train, right? Like...
It really could. It's Schrodinger's proxy right now. But yeah, Kaz, I think, has realized, you know, MaNa, he's been using a Oh, so close. But yeah, MaNa has been using a Stargate a lot. Kaz is well aware of that, so we should be seeing just a couple more Widowmine, defensive Widowmines here.
Definitely. Yeah, the Oracle's coming in. There is a Widowmine here. It is right. Oh, it's a bird. Kaz, please.
Completely goes around that Widowmine. Oracle not getting too much damage done, but the natural base is definitely looking a lot juicier here. Another Widowmine trying to get in position. He's actually fighting the Marines right now. MaNa is. He's trading pretty well against them, but
oh, and I love
to get
that.
A lot more economic damage. For SCVs, not bad.
Because sorry, MaNa was even trying to force some friendly fire there with his adept. Very, very cute micro there. The Oracle is still alive. What I will say is that nice Widowmine shot there on the adept. Kaz, he for the most part he held well here, only losing 4 workers. Like, not bad.
Yeah. He'll lose a couple more here and have quite a number of tech structures delayed. His barracks is going to be delayed a little bit. Cyclone is able to chase it away, but MaNa keeps it alive. Will be able to come in for scouts later down the line. Kaz picks up a Cyclone of the mines?
He does.
Okay.
Oh, he's actually trying to hunt down that Oracle. All right, I like it. I dig it. Meanwhile, the second Oracle, the first Oracle, I guess, of MaNa came back in, got a couple more SCV kills. The Adepts are back once again, and there are no Marines in the bunker. Oh, God. Finally, they get back in.
But at what cost? Well, just about 1 SCV. Not a terrible cost, to be fair.
Definitely. Meanwhile, the Widowmines do finally get across the map, but they get intercepted by the ground army and the Phoenixes. They're going to be forced to drop, and maybe they can get some shots off. Ooh.
This is what happens when you hunt for the Oracles too hard. You end up losing the Cyclone.
Yeah, and after this back and forth, the Widowmines do get caught out. The medevac is going to get caught out as well. All this aggression from Kaz is going to be shut down, and he didn't get any economic damage. And just like last time, he didn't get into the main base. He didn't really get to scout.
And I was going to say, at the very least, he's going to scout that proxy, but I don't believe he has. He turned that medevac around at the last second.
Yeah.
This means that MaNa can continue to produce more and more Phoenixes. And we saw how active he was with the Phoenixes in 2,000 Atmospheres. One of the key factors that led him to win that map.
Definitely. He was able to gather that map control, and just like the previous 2 games, we see the exact same composition coming out from MaNa. He is going for that faster Robotics Bay as well as Twilight Council. His third base was a little bit faster. Again, he probably had to focus a lot more on his defenses early on, dealing with all the harassment, but MaNa is getting back into those Colossus.
Yeah, very familiar territory here for our Red Protoss player. One that I'm sure he's relieved to be in. Make game transition after he saturated those 3 bases. Gonna see a gateway explosion pretty soon. Gonna see a bunch of Colossus out.
Exactly. Meanwhile, on the side of Kaz, I mean, sure, Stim and Combat Shields are about to finish up, and maybe he can hit a timing with this army, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. To be fair, his opponent is a little bit vulnerable right now, to be fair.
Yeah, even that shield battery is in a pretty isolated position. It can be sniped. It's not a lot of gateway units. Honestly, Kaz could pull a poise right now.
Yeah. He like, if you recall, in game 1, he tried to move out, but he was delayed. Meanwhile, is the same thing gonna happen? Oh God!
Vast majority of his army gets caught in that stasis ward. Kaz, he's gonna have to wait a little while. But on the plus side, this means he's gonna have more boys to pull. And also, I guess he's gonna have a bigger army, but it's all about the SCPs.
I guess so. At the same time, War Prism gets into the main base. Zealots get in, once again forcing a reaction here from Kaz. He wanted to move out, he wanted to hit a timing, but he just can't do it. He can just never move out of his bases.
Yeah, forced back into the main base. And while all this is happening, MaNa is just buying himself a lot more time. The gateway explosion has, well, exploded. There's a lot more production on his hands. More Colossus are coming out. Now starting Thermal Lance. Seems a little bit late, but he's going to be able to have it by the time Kaz is looking to fight.
Definitely. Instead, MaNa prioritized that gateway explosion, as you were saying, over the extended thermal lance. Meanwhile, ooh, this force is kind of cut off from the rest of the army, and it looks like it's going to get cleaned up. There are so many medevacs. Oh.
Yeah. Do try to pick up and get out of there, but the Phoenixes have something to say about that, to say the least. I was mentioning earlier on, you know, MaNa, he's going to have a lot of defenses by the time Kaz is able to push across the map, but no, he pulls the trigger immediately. He says, I have had enough of this, Kaz. Let me show you what it's like when a Protoss player is on the offensive.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, MaNa has dealt a lot of damage. You do have a couple of reinforcements coming in just in time. Can they barely save the Colossus? And they will.
Yeah, they'll have anti-air here, but still, Kaz does not want to isolate the Vikings too much. The entire Terran army goes down.
Wow.
Once the Vikings are forced to land to deal with Zealots, that's how you know the situation has grown really dire for the Terran player. GG is